In this ProModel solution, we will show you how to change shift files using macros and scenarios, so you don't have to manually change shift files every time you simulate your model. We'll assume you already have your shift files and the resources or locations you want associated with those shift files defined. If I go here to my resources, you'll see that I have two resources defined, worker 1 and worker 2, that I want to experiment with different shift assignments. Now if we go up here to build, shifts, assign, this is where we will assign our resources or locations to different shift files. In this example, I want to experiment with my worker 1 and worker 2 being on shift 1 or shift 2 and different combinations. In my first shift assignment right here, I have my worker 1 assigned to my shift 1 file, and you can tell it's my first shift assignment because of this number up here, and I want you to remember this number up here because we're going to have to use that later in this example. And then here in my shift 2 assignment, see the number changed to 2, I have my worker 1 assigned to my shift 2 calendar. I have my worker 2 assigned to my shift 1 file on my third shift assignment, and my worker 2 assigned to my shift 2 in my fourth shift assignment. Now we will want to create some macros that will allow us to change shift assignments in our scenarios. So if we go up here to build and go to macros, here are my macros. I want to create a different macro for both of my workers. So I already have two of them named. The first one I called mworker1 and the second one I called mworker2. Then we'll want to go here under the options where it says none, and we'll want to double click and go to scenario parameter and click define. This parameter definition box will pop up. We will want to select record range, and then we'll want to select shifts. Now remember when I told you to remember our shift assignment numbers, this is where we will need them. This range from and to is the shift assignment numbers that we want this macro to be associated with. And since this is our mworker1, our shift assignment for worker 1 was our first shift assignment and our second shift assignment. And that just means that this macro can either have the first shift assignment or the second shift assignment. And we'll click OK. Then in the field here under text is where we'll want to put our default shift assignment. So we either have to put a 1 or a 2 there. I'll put a 1 so that the worker 1 is by default on shift 1. Now we'll go here to my second worker and we'll want to define a scenario parameter for that worker as well. So we'll go to scenario parameter, define, we'll click on record range and then select shifts in the drop down menu. And if you remember, our worker 2 was either in the shift assignment 3 or 4, and shift assignment 3 will go here and we'll put shift assignment 4 here, and we'll click OK. Here under text we'll want to put a default value for this macro for the shift that we want our worker 2 to be on. I'll put a 3, which will put them on shift 1 by default. Now we are ready to create our scenarios. If we go up to simulation and then click on scenario manager, this is where we will create those scenarios. And as you can see, I've already named some different scenarios that I want to create. When you first pull this up, this first scenario will probably say baseline. I've named it both on the first shift. So here's the two parameters that we're working with, those two macros that we created, one representing our worker 1 and one representing our worker 2. Both on the second shift, I will want to put a 2 for my second shift assignment and a 4 for my fourth shift assignment. Now this one says worker 1 first shift, so I will want to leave that as a 1, and worker 2 second shift, so I want to put this as a 4. And if you want to change the names of your scenarios, you can just double click up here and type in whatever you want. And if you want to add some more scenarios, you just click this yellow plus sign and a new scenario will pop up. And then you can either click OK to save these scenarios and continue to work on your model, or you can click Run Scenarios to simulate those scenarios and go to the output viewer. That concludes this ProModel solution. Have a good day and happy modeling.